This would have been the biggest mistake ever.
All right, so we're here chatting. I just want to share a statistic with you, and what I'm about to tell you is from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. If you walk out the door of your house and you look down and count 5 houses, to your left or to your right, chances are one of those homes will be dealing with the situation that we're about to talk here with a special needs child. That statistic is alarming to hear about how widespread we're talking about. So joining us now and talking a little bit about what integrated parenting is for what goes on inside those households, actor spokesperson for the Global Down Syndrome Foundation, John C. McGinley, is here, and alongside of him is Dr. Lawrence Pirro. Welcome back.
Welcome, Doctor. Welcome.
So we're talking about, in this case, an integrated family. First of all,
I asked Dr. Pirro to join me today because I am a patient of Dr. Pirro's and also a very dear friend.
Who is, I know, you've leaned on his shoulder
Yes.
as you go through, because it's not an always easy process when going through what you've gone through.
No, absolutely. And what an integrated family is to me in 2014 is when a special needs child, when that variable is introduced into a typical family. And so parenting is going to have to be a little different when that piece is introduced. So in other words, when I was growing up, there was 5 of us. We're all typical kids, which is the politically correct way for saying a normal kid. And my parents didn't have to necessarily navigate this course of an integrated family. And so different steps have to be taken. So in other words, how is it different having a special needs child in a family than just 5 or 3 typical kids? And one thing is, when you decide, how am I going to parent best for this kid? I think that the number one thing you have to come up with for the special needs kid is, I'm going to anticipate problems before they arrive. Whereas for the typical kids, I'm going to love them and I'm going to surround them with warmth and blah, 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 and that's great. But with the special needs child, I think you're better served trying to anticipate. Max has triggers. My son Max, who's 16, was born with Down syndrome. If the dogs start barking because someone's at the gate and that triggers him starting to wail on himself, maybe knowing someone's coming over, maybe put the dogs in the garage. Is that a big deal? No, but it might prevent the child from, in other circumstances, when a dog starts to bark and he elopes, which means to sprint away into traffic. You're going to want to avoid that.
Sure.
And so parenting a kid with special needs is a little different than parenting a typical family, and that's what an integrated family is in our case, and something that's just endlessly fascinating to me.
Tell us about Max, your son Max, how old he is and what special needs does he have?
Max, who Dr. Pirro knows very well, is a 16-year-old young man, goes to school in Santa Monica, and he was born with Down syndrome. And he's this very high-functioning, miraculous kid who has challenges that are extraordinary. And so unless some steps are taken to accommodate those, I don't think you're being the best parent you can be.
Well, what steps are you taking? Because I know you have 2 other children, as you call typical children. How do you integrate these children into your life when your older son is in your home?
So in other words, the best thing that works for us is inclusion and inviting people to be part of solving problems with Max.
How do you do that?
So Max has a sensitive scalp and doesn't like me to brush his hair. As of about 6 months ago, he lets his sister, Billy Grace, brush his hair. It's the greatest thing in the history of the world. I come in the bathroom and he's letting Billy Grace take a brush, which is just tantamount to a cringe to Max, and she's brushing his hair. Are you
How old is
kidding
she?
me? Billy Grace is 5.
Oh.
And so you come into the bathroom and you see this, and is that the be-all, the end-all? No, but that's certainly a step in the right direction.
But when you saw that, that must have been, lack of a better word, an aha moment for you as a parent to say, wow, this is how your 5-year-old can communicate. Wait, what's your son's name, by the way?
Maxie.
Maxie. To communicate with Maxie.
Well, even more productively, it stimulated, in my mind, it said like, well, if you can brush Max's hair, which is verboten because he doesn't like that touch, where can we go from here? Can we help with eating? Can we help with hygiene? Can we help with a lot of things that are very challenging for us?
It also points out the fact that you can't imagine how a special needs child is viewing a situation. So, for example, John brushing his hair, he may view as a punishment. because you're the
interesting.
parent.
That's
right?
interesting.
But his little sister, who is smaller than he is, and it's not a punishment. It's a different activity.
Doctor, how do you counsel someone, like John? I know you're friends and whatnot, but I know at some point you just probably need to talk and have some, guidance through this.
Dr. Pirro is the smartest person I've ever met in my life, and one of the most malleable intellects, and can deliver experienced medical information to a civilian in a really accessible way.
Like what? What did you see him needing the most information, or area that needed the most information or support in?
The absolute number one most important thing is communication. Right? First of all, is you talking to someone like he does to me or whatever about what you're experiencing and bouncing it off someone. Sometimes your partner in the marriage and sometimes not your partner, because one of the issues with the partnership in the marriage is that there's often in this situation some guilt, some remorse, and some punishment, right? Which is hard. So in certain situations, that's not necessarily your best chatting partner over how do I deal with the situation.
What happens if that communication breaks down? Not with Doctor here, but within your family unit, if you're not communicating, say, with Maxie, the way
It has to. Well, communicating with Max is a challenge because he has profound verbal challenges, and so that's where the parenting has to. You have to. That's what I mean. Anticipate triggers that are going to happen. You have to stay ahead of protecting that child. In addition to protecting him, you have to protect him from himself sometimes, and so. I think you got to run the extra mile. I've always told people, more times than I can tell you, that when you're a parent of a child with special needs, whoever you believe in has given you a chance to be an extraordinary parent, because you're going to have to be.
Yeah. To be in this situation.
Absolutely.
There's so much to talk about this. We're going to step away, but I have a question about, we use this word too commonly, but balancing it all, because I try to balance the attention I give to my children. In this situation, it's got to be remarkable, because I know you're special.
I call it the seduction of symmetry in the family.
All right, we're going to talk about that when we come back, because it's a great balancing act, I'm sure, for you. Don't go away.